The Black Hand by Arthur B. Reeve. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Black Hand by Arthur B. Reeve. Kennedy and I had been dining rather late one evening at Luigi's, a little Italian restaurant on the Lower West Side. We had known the place well in our student days, and had made a point of visiting it once a month since, in order to keep in practice in the fine art of gracefully handling long shreds of spaghetti. Therefore we did not think it strange when the proprietor himself stopped a moment at our table to greet us. Glancing furtively around at the other diners, mostly Italians, he suddenly leaned over and whispered to Kennedy, "I have heard of your wonderful detective work, Professor. Could you give a little advice in the case of a friend of mine?" "Surely, Luigi. What is the case?" asked Craig, leaning back in his chair. Luigi glanced around again apprehensively and lowered his voice. "Not so loud, sir. When you pay your check, go out, walk around Washington Square, and come in at the private entrance. I'll be waiting in the hall. My friend is dining privately upstairs." We lingered a while over our Chianti, then quietly paid the check and departed. True to his word, Luigi was waiting for us in the dark hall. With a motion that indicated silence, he led us up the stairs to the second floor, and quickly opened a door into what seemed to be a fair-sized private dining room. A man was pacing the floor nervously. On a table was some food, untouched. As the door opened, I thought he started as if in fear, and I am sure his dark face blanched, if only for an instant. Imagine our surprise at seeing Gennaro, the great tenor, with whom merely to have a speaking acquaintance was to argue oneself famous. "Oh, it is you, Luigi," he exclaimed in perfect English, rich and mellow. "And who are these gentlemen?" Luigi merely replied, "Friends," in English also, and then dropped off into a voluble, low-toned explanation in Italian. I could see, as we waited, that the same idea had flashed over Kennedy's mind as over my own. It was now 3 or 4 days since the papers had reported the strange kidnapping of Gennaro's 5-year-old daughter, Adelina, his only child, and the sending of a demand for $10,000 ransom, signed as usual, with the mystic Black Hand, a name to conjure with in blackmail and extortion. As Signor Gennaro advanced towards us, after his short talk with Luigi, almost before the introductions were over, Kennedy anticipated him by saying, "I understand, Signor, before you ask me. I have read all about it in the papers. You want someone to help you catch the criminals who are holding your little girl." "No, no," exclaimed Gennaro excitedly. "Not that. I want to get my daughter first. After that, catch them if you can, yes. I should like to have someone do it. But read this first, and tell me what you think of it. How should I act to get my little Adelina back without harming a hair of her head?" The famous singer drew from a capacious pocketbook a dirty, crumpled letter, scrawled on cheap paper. Kennedy translated it quickly. It read, "Honorable Sir, your daughter is in safe hands. But by the saints, if you give this letter to the police, as you did the other, not only she, but your family also, someone near to you, will suffer. We will not fail as we did Wednesday. If you want your daughter back, go yourself, alone, and without telling a soul, to Enrico Albano's Saturday night at the 12th hour. You must provide yourself with $10,000 in bills hidden in Saturday's Il Progresso Italiano. In the back room you will see a man sitting alone at a table. He will have a red flower on his coat. You are to say, 'A fine opera is I Pagliacci.' If he answers, 'Not without Gennaro,' lay the newspaper down on the table. He will pick it up, leaving his own, the Bollettino. On the 3rd page you will find written the place where your daughter has been left waiting for you. Go immediately and get her. But by the God, if you have so much as the shadow of the police near Enrico's, your daughter will be sent to you in a box that night. Do not fear to come. We pledge our word to deal fairly if you deal fairly. This is a last warning. Lest you shall forget, we shall show one other sign of our power tomorrow. La mano nera." The end of this letter was decorated with a skull and crossbones, a rough drawing of a dagger thrust through a bleeding heart, a coffin, and under all a huge black hand. There was no doubt about the type of letter. It was such as have of late years become increasingly common in all our large cities. "You have not shown this to the police, I presume?" asked Kennedy. "Naturally not." "Are you going Saturday night?" "I am afraid to go, and afraid to stay away," was the reply, and the voice of the $50,000 a season tenor was as human as that of a $5 a week father, for at the bottom all men, high or low, are one. "We will not fail as we did Wednesday," reread Craig. "What does that mean?" Gennaro fumbled in his pocketbook again, and at last drew forth a typewritten letter bearing the letterhead of the Leslie Laboratories, Incorporated. "After I received the first threat," explained Gennaro, "my wife and I went from our apartments at the hotel to her father's, the banker Cesare, you know, who lives on Fifth Avenue. I gave the letter to the Italian squad of the police. The next morning my father-in-law's butler noticed something peculiar about the milk. He barely touched some of it to his tongue, and he has been violently ill ever since. I at once sent the milk to the laboratory of my friend, Dr. Leslie, to have it analyzed. This letter shows what the household escaped." "My dear Gennaro," read Kennedy, "the milk submitted to us for examination on the 10th has been carefully analyzed, and I beg to hand you herewith the result. Specific gravity 1.036 at 15 degrees centigrade. Water 84.60%. Casein 3.49%. Albumin 0.56%. Globulin 1.32%. Lactose 5.08%. Ash 0.72%. Fat 3.42%. Ricinus 1.9%. Ricinus is a new and little-known poison derived from the shell of the castor bean. Professor Ehrlich states that 1 gram of the pure poison will kill 1,500,000 guinea pigs. Ricinus was lately isolated by Professor Robert of Rostock, but is seldom found except in an impure state, though still very deadly. It surpasses strychnine, prussic acid, and other commonly known drugs. I congratulate you and yours on escaping, and shall of course respect your wishes absolutely regarding keeping secret this attempt on your life. Believe me, very sincerely yours, C.W. Leslie. As Kennedy handed the letter back, he remarked significantly, "I can see very readily why you don't care to have the police figure in your case. It has gone quite beyond ordinary police methods." "And tomorrow, too, they are going to have another sign of their power," groaned Gennaro, sinking into the chair before his untasted food. "You say you have left your hotel?" inquired Kennedy. "Yes. My wife insisted that we would be more safely guarded at the residence of her father, the banker. But we are afraid even there, since the poison attempt. So I have come here secretly to Luigi, my old friend Luigi, who is preparing food for us, and in a few minutes one of Cesare's automobiles will be here, and I will take the food up to her, sparing no expense or trouble. She is heartbroken. It will kill her, Professor Kennedy, if anything happens to our little Adelina. Ah, sir, I am not poor myself. A month's salary at the Opera House, that is what they ask of me. Gladly would I give it, $10,000. All, if they asked it, of my contract with Signor Cassinelli, the director. But the police, bah! They are all for catching the villains. What good will it do for me if they catch them and my little Adelina is returned to me dead? It is all very well for the Anglo-Saxon to talk of justice and the law, but I am, what you call it, an emotional Latin. I want my little daughter, and at any cost. Catch the villains afterward? Yes. I will pay double then to catch them, so that they cannot blackmail me again. Only first, I want my daughter back." "And your father-in-law?" "My father-in-law, he has been among you long enough to be one of you. He has fought them. He has put up a sign in his banking house. No money paid on threats. But I say it is foolish. I do not know America as well as he. But I know this. The police never succeed. The ransom is paid without their knowledge, and they very often take the credit. I say, pay first. Then I will swear a righteous vendetta. I will bring the dogs to justice, with the money yet on them. Only show me how. Show me how." "First of all," replied Kennedy, "I want you to answer one question, truthfully, without reservation, as to a friend. I am your friend, believe me. Is there any person, a relative or acquaintance of yourself or your wife or your father-in-law, whom you even have a reason to suspect of being capable of extorting money from you in this way? I needn't say that it is the experience of the district attorney's office, in the large majority of cases, of this so-called Black Hand." "No," replied the tenor, without hesitation. "I know that, and I have thought about it. No, I can think of no one. I know you Americans often speak of the Black Hand as a myth, coined originally by a newspaper writer. Perhaps it has no organization. But, Professor Kennedy, to me it is no myth. What if the real Black Hand is any gang of criminals who choose to use that